Hey, we did it. Successful. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Wellness FOURplay podcast. I am your host, Dr. Dondee Nettles. We're getting a little bit of a late start tonight, but we had some crazy technical difficulties right as we were going live. So thank you for being patient, but I'm glad we're back. Tonight we are episode 52, which is part 2 of what we started yesterday. And that is 4 health lessons I wish I had learned sooner. Last night, I got a little transparent. I'm going to forewarn you, I'm going to be a little bit more transparent and vulnerable tonight. So the 4 topics I wanted to talk about, 2 of which we talked about last night, were mindset, is the first thing we talked about, and nutrition. 2 segments of each of those. Well, tonight, we're going to talk about segment 3 and 4, or portion 3 and 4. 3, we're going to talk about physical fitness and sports. And then lastly, we're going to talk about hobbies and hobbies and recreation. Because again, the summary of the show here, the title of the show is 4 health lessons I wish I had learned sooner. And I'm talking in my life. So welcome back to the Wellness FOURplay podcast. Again, thank you so much. If you're catching this live, please do me a favor and put hashtag live in the comments below, whether you're on Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn or YouTube. I would really appreciate that. Let me turn the comments on so that I can see you if you are there. Thank you again so much. And if you're catching this on the audio, either on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts or iHeartRadio or wherever you happen to be listening, thank you. And thank all of you that are tuning in live. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate you being here. I know your time is valuable. I know it's important. And I know you could be tuning into other things probably. But the fact that you're here listening to this or watching this makes me incredibly grateful, because I'm hoping to give you something of value. And I'm hoping, again, I'm going to be very transparent. So I'm not assuming that any of you are going to be looking at these things the way I have in the past. But I'm hoping that perhaps even if you didn't, that you could still learn from these lessons I wish I had learned sooner in my life. And let's get into the fitness thing first. And the first one I want to talk about is that team sports are team sports, meaning team, together, everyone achieves more. That's the entire focus of a sport that happens to be a team sport. Now, you can have individual solo sports like, say, archery or something of that nature. But when team sports are there and you have other members of your team, you not only carry your own weight and your own responsibility, but the rest of your teammates are relying on you and are banking on the fact that you show up. So whether it's on a basketball court and there's 4 other people, or it's on a field of grass and there's 10 other people and you're chasing after a football, or whether there's 8 other people and you're on a diamond playing baseball, whatever your sport happens to be, when it's a team sport, it's a team sport, which means together, everyone achieves more. Now, why do I even bother to tell you that? Because when I was younger, I was very much an athlete. I've been an athlete my whole life, but I never really took team sports as together everyone achieves more. And let me explain to you why it was a very difficult lesson for me to learn, and something I wish I would have learned in my childhood and not in my early adult years. Now, it happened on the same field. So baseball was my game growing up. And when I was on the field in a defensive position, if I was at shortstop, if I was at third base, if I was at second base, shortstop was my go-to, but I would fluctuate back and forth between second and third base occasionally as well. But if I was in that position, I wasn't really focusing on the rest of my teammates. As weird as that may sound, and even I would even say as selfish as that may sound, I was focusing on the batter. And that the batter, if he got a hit, would not get it past me. It's my job to throw him out. And I even played one year, I played co-ed softball. So throw him or her out. I didn't care. It was me against them. And here's what I mean by that. Now, that may be an okay stance or position to take, but not for the entire game. And here's what I mean. So if my team lost, but I didn't make any errors and I threw everybody out who hit a ball my way, then I had a good game. That's a very selfish way of looking at it, because I should be there supporting the team. And I never didn't support the team. I just didn't mourn or take it seriously enough to win when everyone else was. And that was my biggest, I will call it a sports sin. And for if you ever played on a team with me, I apologize that I ever had that position, and that I ever took that position and worried so much more about my play than anyone else's play. Forgive me for that, because it was a hard lesson. And I remember one time that we lost a tournament in a softball tournament, a very, very important, it was called the Easter Seals tournament, with lots and lots and lots of teams that were involved. That's when I was living in Northern California, and we were doing very well in the tournament, and we ended up losing in the finals. My team was distraught, literally distraught, because the other team got the trophy. And I remember being excited because I went 5 for 5 and I didn't make any errors, and I made it all about me. And I remember sitting on the bench, looking at my players, looking at my teammates that were just beside themselves, because it was a huge ordeal. And I remember thinking, what are they bummed out about? I went 5 for 5. I did my part, and I wasn't even angry or assuming that they didn't do their part. I just realized how short-sighted and how selfish my position was. And I ate some serious crow that day and some humble pie. And I thought, you know what? What a loser I am. I am the biggest loser on this team. They at least gave it their all for the team. I gave it my all for me. And that was, I'm literally even remembering that, bringing myself to tears, because I remember how much I felt, how bad I felt, and letting my teammates down. And I was probably 21 or 22 years old at the time. And I've been playing, that was softball, but I had been playing baseball since I was 5. And so again, if you ever played on a tournament team with me, or ever a team prior to me being 22, please forgive me if you ever watch this, because I was wrong. And that was wrong. Team sport is team sport, meaning together, everyone achieves more. Don't be selfish playing a team sport, or just don't play it at all if you're in it for yourself. And I tell you that from a place of experience and a sin that I committed for many years of my life. And I'm sorry. Number 2, let's get into something positive. Again, in the fitness or sports thing, physical fitness, having patience will serve you. Another, guilty as charged. I remember multiple times in my life when I was into bodybuilding for a portion of time in my late teens into my mid 20s, and I wanted more. I wanted to get like the guys I was seeing in the magazines in 3 months, 6 months, a year, and it wasn't happening, and I was getting frustrated, realizing there is a such thing as reality or realistic expectations. I had none. I had no patience. And because I wasn't getting the results that I wanted as fast as I wanted, and it didn't just plague me in fitness or sports, it has plagued me in every single aspect of my life. I'm too impatient, and I'm too much of a perfectionist. And it's something that it still haunts me to this day, because I want better, quicker, and I can't stand losing, and I can't stand not making progress. I literally, over here to my right, your left, I have a guitar. I have a Fender Stratocaster on the wall over here, and I have a Jackson, I forget the model, Soloist over here. Very, very nice guitars, electric guitars. I have a Dean acoustic guitar upstairs. I've had them for years. Do I play them? No. Do I have any calluses on my hands? No. Why? Because I wanted to be like Eddie Van Halen or Jimi Hendrix or Eric Clapton, or name any guitar god that I ever grew up listening to. I wanted to be like them in 5 lessons or less. And it's just completely unrealistic. And so here's the issue. I'm 57 years old. If I would have lowered my standards, had lesser expectations, and had more patience, I could probably pick up that guitar off the wall and play it, because I tried taking my first guitar lessons when I was in 7th grade in 1977. Mr. Ward, I'm sorry for being a problem student. And John Haley, if you ever watch this, you were in my class and you know what I'm talking about. Some people just have a natural gift for things. When it comes to playing guitar, I have 2 left feet, not even 2 left hands. It's just not my jam. So, but I get frustrated at that. But it's not just guitar. If I don't excel in anything right away, I get frustrated. I get pissed. PG-13 version, sorry. And I don't want to do it anymore. That's something that I will own. But patience will serve you when it comes to anything. Please embrace patience. Please set proper expectations. We talked about proper expectations a couple episodes ago. So enough about that. Now into number 3. Now we're going to get into hobbies and recreation because really health in general, wellness in general is not just physical. It's multifaceted, like I've said many times before. It's emotional, it's spiritual, it's it's recreational, it is family. Everywhere in every aspect or every facet of your life, if you are well, then you are truly well. And if you remember when we talked about that, W meaning whole, E meaning empowered, L meaning learning, and L meaning loving. That's what wellness is a condition of being well, which is whole, empowered, learning, and loving. That's what it is. And that offers every aspect of your life. Cheryl, good to see you, my friend. And so thank you for catching this live. So this is something I'm really, really adamant about now on the other side of learning curves that unfortunately, life teaches me, usually the hard way. And so when you're involved in anything with regard to hobbies or recreation, have patience and it will serve you. Meaning give yourself time to suck. Give yourself time to really suck. And it's kind of look at it this way. Practice doesn't make perfect. Practice makes progress. And I realize right now that I switched up 2 and 3. So practice does not make perfect. There's no such thing unless you're Jesus. Practice makes progress. In fact, I just had this conversation with my 17-year-old son about that very thing. Practice is noble. The more you practice, the better you get. And I just saw a short video the other day about how much time, 18 minutes a day or 100 hours in a year, if you do anything, whether it's knit or decoupage or crochet or calligraphy or whatever it is, whatever you do, 18 minutes a day, every day for a year, you will have done it for 100 hours. And whatever that is, research says you'll be better than 95% of the world at that thing if you just practice it 18 minutes a day. I would practice for 5 minutes, get pissed, put the guitar down and say, screw it, and wonder why I'm not playing like Eddie Van Halen. Well, it's because practice does not make perfect, which is what I wanted. It makes progress. So in your life, in your hobbies, in your recreation, in your fitness, again, because I mix those up today, practice does not make perfect. Practice makes progress. Give yourself some grace. Give yourself some ability to suck before. So you have to suck before you get decent. You have to get decent before you get good. You have to get good before you get great. And you have to be great before you can be legendary. And you can't just go from sucking to legendary. You got to practice harder than everyone else. And then years and years and years, maybe you're Eddie Van Halen or an NBA All-Star, whatever it is. Nobody in the NBA, especially in the NBA All-Star, because no kid wants to grow up as an NBA player and be third string or sit on the bench. They want to be the person who's the all-star. They want to be the person hoisting the trophy. They want to be the person holding the ring, whether you're boys or girls or whatever. My daughter, when she was in gymnastics and now that she's in volleyball, she's never said, Dad, I want to play volleyball so I can sit on the bench at UCLA and really suck. No, she wants a scholarship so she can play at a D1 school and whatever. So, I mean, every childhood dream is to be like somebody they hold in a legendary status, and every single one of them put in, if you ever read the book called Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell, 10,000 hours to be a master or a legend in whatever it is. And I wanted something to be happening in 5 minutes. It doesn't happen. Give yourself grace, allow yourself to suck before you get good, and really give yourself the understanding of patience. Patience will serve you. And now number 4, to round this out, be adventurous in your recreations and in your hobbies. Don't be so stiff-necked or standoffish or self-righteous and say, no, I can't do that. And I want to give a big shout out to Michael's Hobby Store, because in my adult years, I was probably 4 or 5. I went through this time frame where I got really into hobbies because I went into Michael's Hobby Store. The smell got me at first. I walked in and got smacked right upside the head. That whatever that blend of pine cones and cinnamon, it's not just at Christmas time. It just has a very, very recognizable smell. So does Hobby Lobby. When you walk in and you smell it, you know what I'm talking about. And I just started looking at some things to do. And I started doing things like stained glass. I gave myself some practice time. I learned stained glass. I learned calligraphy. I learned decoupage. I learned painting. I learned using a hot glue gun and all the amazing things that you can do with a hot glue gun. Hot glue guns are right up there with rubber bands and bungee cord and duct tape as far as how great they are that literally holds our universe together, is held together, I think, probably by glue gun, hot glue guns. I think if you look somewhere, you're even probably Mercedes-Benz and Rolls Royces are held together somewhere by hot glue guns. Could be true. Maybe I'm stretching a little bit, but I'm being a little facetious and I'm being a little crazy. But I loved Michael. So I went in there and I let my guard down and I started doing things that some of my friends said were just a little, probably not what you should be doing. But I got tremendous great joy out of it. I got tremendous peace out of it. And I got really, really good at hobbies. In fact, now to this day, I've got bins and bins in my garage full of stained glass stuff and all kinds of really I made shell collages like crazy. And I would just say, give yourself some adventure, be adventurous, try something new. At any age, you can teach an old dog new tricks. And here's the reason why. When it's new, it's fresh. When it's fresh, you're inspired by it. When you do something and you create something, especially because it's new and because you've never done it before, even if it sucks compared to somebody like, say, Mozart, or if it's a piece of music, or Rembrandt, if it's an artwork, you can look at it and go, that's my Rembrandt. It's my very first watercolor or my very first oil painting, but it's awesome. And I remember watching my grandmother, God rest her soul, when she first started painting and looking at some of her paintings. And then when she got really good after, guess what? Taking lessons and practicing every day, she literally made masterpieces that she sold for hundreds and hundreds of dollars. And we've got some in our house still to this day. And she's been passed away for probably 15 years. But here's my point in this entire thing, wrapping it up. Give yourself patience and be adventurous in what you're doing, in your hobbies and your recreation, because it will give you some freedom, especially if you live a stressed out lifestyle. Find yourself some hobbies, find yourself something to do recreationally. My wife, Marcy, just recently completed a triathlon. She didn't even have a road bike 5 months ago. She didn't even have shoes that hold her pedals to her feet 5 months ago. She had no desire to run a triathlon 5 months ago. But she gave herself some reason to be adventurous. She took on a challenge and she crushed it. And guess what she did every day? With very few exceptions, she practiced and she gave herself expectations, proper expectations. And last Saturday, she completed her triathlon. And I got pictures of her walking across the finish, running across the finish line. And Marcy, I am your biggest fan. You are Wonder Woman to me. And because I learned so much from you just watching, setting proper expectations, setting goals, practicing every day, and giving yourself permission to not be perfect, but permission to practice, to show progress. And I learned a lot from you, Marcy. Thank you. Thank you for doing that. And thank you for, you taught a lot of people some things that were watching you vicariously. So in summary, the four health lessons I wish I had learned sooner are in proper order this time. 1, team sports are team sports. Together, everyone achieves more. Don't take it as a solo artist when you're out there on a team, because they depend on you and you should show up for them. Number 2, practice makes progress, not perfect. Number 3, having patience. And I will throw in there in parentheses, and proper expectations will serve you. And you won't get mad and angry at yourself and frustrated and still have a guitar for over 40 years that you still don't know how to play. Guilty as charged. And then lastly, be adventurous in your recreation, in your hobbies, because try new things, because it will give you new goals, new boundaries, and new ways to celebrate you. Because each and every one of you deserve to be celebrated. So celebrate yourself, try something new, get the rewards. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight to the Wellness FOURplay podcast. If you found any value in this at all, if you just wanted to share how crazy some dude can get pointing fingers at himself, please share this episode. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow for episode 53. Have a great day, everybody. Take care. God bless. Thanks for tuning in.